What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 192. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on this episode and this channel where all we do is talk and discuss movies. I hope you all are having a great start to your week. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I don't know if there's any moms that listen to the podcast, but if you do, I hope you had a great time celebrating with family. We got to celebrate with my mom over the weekend. She doesn't listen to the Timeless Movie Podcast. It's okay, though. We still love her. But if you do listen to the Timeless Movie Podcast, well, thank you so much. It would be greatly appreciated if you have listened to any of our past episodes. Please like and subscribe, drop some comments, follow it wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. It really goes a long way for you guys to support the channel. Now, if you haven't listened to our last episode, episode 191 of the Timeless Movie Podcast, well, go do so. It's available on all the platforms that I just mentioned, and I went solo talking all about The Devil Wears Prada 2, the legacy sequel, 20 years after the first Devil Wears Prada came out. Is it as good? Is it timeless? Well, you're going to have to go check out that episode to find out my answer. Also, shout out to all of the folks that have been commenting. Especially want to give a shout out to Ski Wiz. I hope I'm saying the name right on YouTube. He sent over a comment talking a little bit about Exit 8 and how much he loved that movie. And just like getting those types of comments where people just kind of give their full thoughts about what worked for them or what didn't work for them as well. So please continue to do so. It's greatly appreciated. And I love reading through your guys' comments as well and kind of give you a little bit of my feedback as well. All right, enough of the housekeeping. It's showtime because this week we are talking all about Mortal Kombat 2, the follow-up to the first Mortal Kombat, or I guess the updated version from 2021. Now, to give you a little bit of my thoughts, I wasn't doing this channel and talking about movies in 2021, but I can honestly tell you that the first Mortal Kombat that came out in 2021, I did not like. I was hoping that because they were going to be remaking it and rebooting it, that they were going to have some type of a modern take to it. The fight and choreography would hopefully be really awesome. Instead, I was left with just a bad taste in my mouth. The film just didn't work. There was nothing interesting about it. I can't remember any of the fighting scenes other than Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. And so that was really the unfortunate part. And what really surprised me is that they committed to doing a sequel. And so when I heard that Carl Urban was going to be Johnny Cage, I started seeing clips about it. I'm like, okay, well, this will be interesting. I wonder with now the addition of Johnny Cage and hopefully other characters, maybe there'll be something more interesting about this movie. So now that we actually got to check it out on opening night, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about my overall thoughts about the movie, who directed it, who comes out in it, and a little bit of a plot summary as well. All right. Mortal Kombat 2 is directed by Simon McQuoid, who also directed the first Mortal Kombat in 2021. In this film, we have a plethora of different actors. We have Carl Urban, Adeline Rudolph, Jessica McNamee, Martin Ford, Louis Tan, Hiroyuki Sanada. You have Tati Gabrielle, Ludi Lin. You have so many different folks. I know I'm forgetting a couple, but we have a long list of actors, and each of those actors is playing a crucial Mortal Kombat character that people know and love. I guess something that I should have said at the beginning of the podcast is that I also have played the game Mortal Kombat when I had a Sega Genesis. I'm dating myself, but it was in the 90s. But I've never been a huge fan. I did love the first film, the 1995 Mortal Kombat. Is it a great movie? Maybe not, but when I was a kid, I was only like 4 or 5 years old when I saw that movie, and I was just in love with the song, with the action, with the Scorpion and Sub-Zero and all these different types of ninjas. I was just in love with how that movie just showed this kind of cool, stylized way of action. And so that's kind of a little bit of the history that I have with this movie. But now that we have Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2, what is this film about? What is it trying to show the audience in regards to its story? Well, let me give you a little synopsis about Mortal Kombat 2. We have Shao Kahn. This is the big bad of Mortal Kombat, and Shao Kahn is played by Martin Ford. In the beginning of the movie, we see that Shao Kahn is looking to set up his scheme and take over Earth Realm, which obviously includes Earth. And in order to do this, he's going to basically win the last tournament that he needs, and he needs to defeat every single champion from Earth. As such, Earth needs to build a team of fighters that can go up against Shao Kahn to stop him from taking over. Who are those champions? Well, we have Liu Kang, we have Jax, Sonya, and Cole. However, in order to compete in the tournament, you need one more fighter to complete a team of 5. And who is the last man that is summoned? Well, it is none other than Johnny Cage. Whether he likes it or not, he is a part of this tournament and it is part of his destiny. And so the 5 of these Earth champions now have to try to face off against Shao Kahn and his minions in order to stop Earth from being enslaved and from being taken over by Shao Kahn. All right, everybody, let's just jump right into it. That is the overall synopsis of what goes on in Mortal Kombat 2. What do I think about this movie now that I get to check it out? I thought this movie delivered a fun and good experience in the theater. This, I can easily say, is better than the 2021 film Mortal Kombat. It is just by far, it has better action. It has funnier moments. It has characters that are actually interesting and you want to actually see what is going to happen to them. There's some crazy deaths. There's gore. There's just so much more that this film has. So it easily clears the bar of the first Mortal Kombat film that came out in 2021. Now, is the story strong? No. This is really a film about a lot of fun, a lot of action, fatalities, just a lot of brutal scenes that happen. And that's really what it's trying to kind of just deliver. A awesome popcorn movie that people can just go in, and after you leave the theater, you're just remembering the fight scenes. But from a story perspective, it's not going to try to blow you away. There are a couple of tropes that happen in this film. But other than that, I think that the story really just gets the job done, which is showing you action, showing you the Mortal Kombat tournament, and showing you the stakes. And I think it nails each one of those aspects. You know what also gets the job done when we're talking on this podcast? Is talking about some pros and cons. These pros and cons really deliver what I really feel about these movies. So let's go ahead now and segue into pros and cons about Mortal Kombat 2. All right, first pro that I have for Mortal Kombat. No surprise, this is going to be so obvious. It is the action. But let me kind of spin it in a different way. What I really liked about the action is the creativity that the team that really developed all of the choreography for the fights and the things that happen in this movie. I got to give props to them. Their creativity for each single fight was really cool. They really made every single battle and face-off between these characters feel unique and different. But they also did a really great job at highlighting what everybody's abilities are. Like if you're looking at Jax and his metal arms or his robotic arms, they show how he's able to utilize those. Or if you look at Cole Young, he's able to kind of utilize his, I think, upper body to kind of have this very unique kind of not metal, but almost like a strong type of material that he could either absorb to use his energy and kind of blast that off against his opponent. So everybody's able to kind of get highlighted with in regards to their abilities, which I really like. There's times where you watch an action movie and the fights start feeling redundant. And that's, I think, the trap that this film, Mortal Kombat 2, doesn't fall into. The fights don't feel like I'm watching the exact same battle over and over again. Everything feels fresh. Everything feels like I haven't seen this so far in the Mortal Kombat 2 film. Like, okay, this feels different. Maybe you have Jade versus Jax, or Shao Kahn versus Cole, or Johnny Cage versus Katana. But everything just kind of feels like we haven't seen it before, at least in this film. I'm not saying that this is the most unique action that I've seen in any action movie. No, this is not the top of the line. But at least when you're watching a movie like Mortal Kombat, you at least expect to remember, oh, I can't wait to think about or watch this fight scene again. Or, hey, I feel like they did a really cool move and use their surroundings to pull off some nifty action sequences here. So credit to all of the choreographers and the stunt doubles and the actors as well when they were in the scenes fighting. They really pulled off some cool moments in their battles throughout this film. All right, second pro that I have is really like the characters that were focused on in this film. Now, I had mentioned it before, not to crap on the first film again in Mortal Kombat 2021, but there really wasn't any interesting characters other than Scorpion, which is played by Hiroyuki Sanada. And Hiroyuki comes back to reprise his role as Scorpion, and he's always a beast. And I love watching him and just seeing his facial expressions. But there was other characters that were also represented in this film. You get to see more of Shao Kahn and what he's up to and why he wants to take over all of these different types of realms. You get to see Johnny Cage. Obviously, if you've seen the trailers for Mortal Kombat 2, Johnny Cage is all over the trailers, the posters. So you feel like he's going to be the central point of this movie, but it's actually not only his story as well. You get to see other characters like Katana. You get to see her and Jade have a sisterly bond. You get to see what Katana went through when she was younger, and then eventually where she is now in regards to the Mortal Kombat tournament. So they made it interesting enough. Again, the arcs might not be mind blowing. It might not be, oh my goodness, this character like it immediately becomes one of my favorite characters of this year. But it at least gives you something that is interesting enough to continue to watch on screen. And as long as a movie can do that, it at least delivers on the basic aspect of, hey, there is a character that at least you care about. You want to see, are they going to make it to the end? And so I'm not going to be spoiling anything about who lives or dies in this film until we get to spoilers. All right, and then the last section I have here is for cons. What maybe didn't work as well in regards to Mortal Kombat 2? I really only have one small nitpick, and it comes with the ending. The ending just, I felt like it could have been executed a little bit better. They fall into this kind of a trope where it feels like a cheesy thing that not only just falls into the Mortal Kombat universe, but more so a lot of films that I can remember over the last couple of years. This specific trope, and again, I'm not going to spoil it here, but when we get to the actual spoiler section, I can spoil this con a little bit more. But there's just something that happens, and I don't know, it kind of felt cheesy. It didn't take me out of the movie, but I just wish that they kind of could have really refined that ending just to make it hit a lot harder. But that's my only real nitpick. Again, there could be other things like, maybe the writing. There's one element that I really just wish they could have just included within the film, but again, we'll get to that in the spoiler section. Speaking of the spoiler section, I think that's a perfect way to transition into that part so that we can start spoiling about what were my favorite action moments, who was my favorite character, and a little bit more about that ending that I wish they could have improved on a little bit more. But before we do that, if you don't want to be spoiled about Mortal Kombat 2, please jump out of the podcast now, watch the movie, and then come back, and wherever you listen to the podcast, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, let me know down below in a comment what you thought. Do you agree or disagree with me? And also, shoot me over an email, timelessmoviepod@gmail.com. I would love to hear your thoughts and read through those, and I'd be happy to also present those on the podcast as well. Okay, hopefully that is enough time and enough of a break, because spoilers starts right now. Okay, biggest thing that I wanted to kind of kick this off with was that this film actually does not revolve solely around Johnny Cage. My brother Omar actually predicted this. He actually felt that they were setting us up in the trailers. They were making us feel like, oh, this is going to be all about Johnny Cage. He's the hero of this movie. And he does have a big part to play. But the true character that this film also wants to focus on is Katana. Katana is played by Adeline Rudolph. And they start the film with Shao Kahn invading Edenia. And this is the home of Katana. And he invades. He is in the tournament for Mortal Kombat. And he basically just needs to win one more battle in order to take over Edenia and just be its ruler. And so who does he face off against? He faces off against Katana's father, King Gerard, in combat. And he eventually just destroys him, kills him right in front of all of the people in Edenia, but also in front of Katana. And Katana, as a child, I think she was no older than maybe like 10 years old, but now she had to witness her father die in front of her. And now she has to basically serve under Shao Kahn. And then eventually years pass, and now you see Katana as older, as a skilled warrior, and you see her now plotting for what she ultimately wants to do, which is take out Shao Kahn, get revenge for her father's death. And so she is really the central character of this movie. They start with her and they end with her. She is the one that has to face off against Shao Kahn. It can't be Johnny Cage. It can't be Liu Kang. It can't be anybody else. It has to be Katana because they have set the through line. They have set the emotional connection of this movie. You are with Katana when she sees her father get murdered, and so you have to be with Katana at the end when she faces off against Shao Kahn. So I really like that. I like that they didn't show that at all in the trailers. They might have shown bits and pieces of Katana facing off against Shao Kahn, but I really dug that Katana is really the true central character of this movie. And through her, we're hoping that we can kind of close the loop of Shao Kahn. You see him at the beginning trying to take over, and then you see him at the end getting taken out by Katana. Now, Katana does have help. There's a lot of different types of pieces that are going on within the film, but eventually they have a face-off in regards to trying to see who is going to be taking over Earthrealm. And so Katana ends up saving the day by going one-on-one against Shao Kahn, which is a really cool battle as well. Now, speaking of battles, we got to talk about the battles that I enjoyed the most in this film. Not gonna lie, I feel like there were a total of 9 or 10 fights. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but there was so many different types of face-offs, one-on-ones that were just so interesting and fascinating to watch. So I'm not gonna go through every single one because I'm pretty sure I'll butcher which ones I'm describing. But if I could give you guys a top 3 that I enjoyed and maybe an honorable mention as well, maybe that'll kind of help with at least giving you guys some ideas of what were your favorite fights if you'd seen Mortal Kombat 2 already as well. All right, my first and favorite fight, I'm just going to start here. It's got to be Liu Kang and Kung Lao. This one was so freaking amazing to see. First of all, because of where they're fighting. They're fighting in this sort of different plane of existence. I don't know where the hell they are, but you just see sort of like what looks like a spiral or a black hole, but it's blue. And then it also changes to a shade of red, different points of the fight. But you have Kung Lao. If you weren't aware, Kung Lao actually died in Mortal Kombat 2021, but they resurrected him, and now he really serves under Shao Kahn. And he is forced to now fight his brother Liu Kang. And so they have an intense battle back and forth. But the reason why this one is my favorite fight is because of the fact that it has a story to it. There's stakes to it. You obviously don't want Liu Kang to lose, but it's also hard for him to get rid of his brother. He doesn't want him to kill him. And so they have this awesome back and forth. Also, the fact that they both have skill sets that are unique. You have Liu Kang that has the ability to, use fire and almost create these kind of fire dragons. And so he's able to kind of really use that to try to either overpower some of his opponents or keep them back. And then Kung Lao has his actual hat, but it's sort of like a saw hat in a way. So he's able to kind of control that and try to kill Liu Kang. And so they just have some awesome back and forth. Their choreography was freaking smooth. And then eventually at the end, how it finishes and how it caps off is just brutal because you have a moment where Liu Kang is talking to his brother, Kung Lao, and he's like, I'm going to save you. I'm going to do whatever I can to bring you back. And then he seems like he's charging up a specific type of an attack with his hands, but then he stops as Kung Lao gets closer and he kind of just lets go of that ability. He allows Kung Lao to punch him in the stomach, but then he grabs onto Kung Lao and then he brings him down to the floor where his hat is actually stuck and spinning, and he basically kills his brother by dropping his body flat onto the saw, and it just watches him die. And then after he dies, he says, I'm going to save you, just not yet. And so that was just a brutal, brutal way to end that kind of a battle. But that was, to me, it had everything. The visuals, the choreography, the story, and the uniqueness of what happened and how to really cap it off. It all just worked. So that was my favorite battle, Liu Kang versus Kung Lao. Okay, second one that I wanted to call out was another Liu Kang one, this time when he faces off against Shao Kahn. Now, this one was cool because they actually faced off twice, but I wanted to call out the first one because this is where you have them fighting in the throne room of Shao Kahn, and you have Liu Kang again using his ability of fire. He creates these fire dragons that are going around the pillars of the throne room. That was also really cool to kind of highlight how strong Liu Kang was, but also how strong Shao Kahn had already become at this point in the movie. He had gained the power of Raiden and kind of imbued it with himself, becoming a god. And so their face off was really cool. And also because of the fact that Shao Kahn, Martin Ford, the actor, he is humongous. So he has this freaking sledgehammer that is just massive, and he uses that to his advantage, trying to smash Liu Kang at any point in time. So everything about that fight was also really cool, just showing how a brute, juggernaut like Shao Kahn faces off against more of like an elegant and slick Liu Kang. So that kind of a style and the contrast really worked for me. And the third fight that I really enjoyed and remembered was the fight between Sonya and Sindel. So Sonya has the ability where she kind of is able to shoot these kind of energy rings from her hand, and Sindel has the ability to kind of have this sort of like a echo or a voice that can kind of just really blow your ears out and kind of discombobulate you. And they had one of the first fights, but they had one in a specific room that had spikes coming out. So it started reminding me a little Easter egg of the original Mortal Kombat in 1995, where you had the floor that had just a bunch of spikes that would pop out. And so they had this battle, they were facing off, and the way that Sonya is able to take out Sindel was freaking awesome. It was the first kind of gory moment that you see, but you have Sonya kind of trying to fight the sound and the actual sound echo that Sindel has. I don't think I'm describing Sindel's ability in the correct way, but hopefully you understand that every time she opens her mouth and she screams, it just shoots out this kind of a sound wave. And you see Sonya kind of pick up a dead body, and she's kind of using that to kind of as a barrier or some type of a shield. And as the body kind of starts tearing away because of the sound wave that Sindel has, you then see Sonya kind of move around, shoot one of her energy rings, and then she ends up kind of spinning around, grabbing her, and then throwing her towards one of the spikes, and eventually just stabs her in the head with one of the spikes. And it was just a brutal way to end the fight. And again, just that kind of got the audience into it. As soon as we saw that, we were like, okay, now we know what we're in for this Mortal Kombat film. So that was my third favorite fight. Honorable mention, wanted to shout out Jackson Jade. They had a really cool fight as well, using their surroundings a little bit more as well. Jade had this really cool staff that she kind of used to try to, fight and try to keep Jax away. And then Jax ends up using that same staff to his advantage and knocks out Jade. So really cool stuff. Again, wanted to at least highlight that one because I feel like Jax and Jade really used their surrounding to the best of their abilities. All right, now that we've kind of gone through some of those fights, definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know what were your favorite battles and characters that faced off in the comments below. Let me know if your favorite was the same as mine, Liu Kang versus Kung Lao, or if you had a different one. All right, a couple of things that I want to call out about this film. My favorite character, hands down, was Kano. I mean, he was resurrected. He was another character that also died in Mortal Kombat 2021. They brought him back, and good thing they did. He brought the energy and the charisma that I felt like this film needed right from the get-go. I thought we were going to get that type of energy from Carl Urban as Johnny Cage, but I didn't really feel that type of, cockiness that I was expecting. So when Kano came in, he just blew the doors off of this movie. He started having some hilarious one-liners, calling this type of henchman that works for Shao Kahn Pennywise, saying all this ridiculous stuff. He just had such an awesome delivery to the lines. So, I mean, incredible. I mean, Kano was awesome. Shout out to Josh Lawson. I mean, he was stealing every single scene, every single moment. And I'm just glad that they just thought of that idea of let's bring him back. We need to bring some type of chaotic energy to this film, and Kano has that. I mean, it's again, so much charisma was coming out of his character. Every time he was either fighting or talking to any one of the other Earth champions, it was just so freaking funny. So Kano gets my favorite performance of this movie, and he was, again, the sole reason why I think I left the theater in such a good mood, because he came in almost like towards the middle of the movie and just stayed all the way through. And it just, again, delivered an awesome performance that just makes me want to either watch his scenes again or looking forward to Mortal Kombat 3. Speaking of Mortal Kombat 3, they did set it up at the end of the movie where you have all of Earth's champions that survived, and they kind of start talking together and start discussing, hey, we need to go and save our friends. So basically, they want to go and bring back Liu Kang because Liu Kang did die in this movie. Also want to bring back Kung Lao and any other of their fallen champions like Cole Young. So this is one of those aspects that I'm always curious about is, and want to kind of get your guys' thoughts in the comments as well. How do you feel about this kind of movies where, you feel like there is stakes, but then they start talking about, hey, let's bring everybody back. And so it feels like, especially in the Mortal Kombat universe, I'm not well versed in the video games, but I feel like characters die and then come back, die and then come back. And so I'm really curious what the movies are going to do. Are they going to try to follow that same type of strategy? If they do, I don't know if it's going to work in the long run because after a while, people are going to be like, well, a character can just die and they can just be resurrected or brought back. And so, really interested and curious to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know down below in the comments or send me an email. Are you guys interested in Mortal Kombat 3? Do you care when characters are resurrected and killed and resurrected again? I'm just really fascinated by how this is all going to work and if people are just going to grow tired of, oh, well, no matter who dies, Johnny Cage, Katana, don't worry, they'll get brought back as well. Speaking of Katana, I wanted to talk a little bit about the ending of the movie. This is one of my cons that I just really wish they could have refined a little bit more. What happens is that you have Katana facing off against Shao Kahn, and Shao Kahn loses his ability of being immortal. He doesn't have the power of Raiden anymore, and so Katana is able to use all of her skills in order to try to take him out. She is close. She has been able to bloody him, cut him, and try to basically just take his head off. But at the end, Shao Kahn starts choking Katana and using the last of his strength to just try to choke her and kill her and take her out. And you see a moment where Katana is basically losing consciousness and it looks like she's basically knocked out and suffocated. And then what the film ends up doing is it starts showing you images of her father. And then, her father told her one last message. Hey, strength doesn't come from your physical ability. It comes from your mind and your heart. And this is where my con starts. I don't really like when movies try to hold the hand of the audience. I don't need you to repeat scenes from the beginning of the movie or repeat dialogue that I already heard. It's almost as if the director and the team think that, oh, maybe the audience has already forgot what happened at the beginning of the movie, so let me repeat it. I do not like that trope. I've seen that in other movies. Like the first one that came to mind is like Captain Marvel as well, where you see flashbacks of her as a kid and like every time she kind of faced a battle that was really tough. They try to show you like, hey, look, here's where this character has come from. Here's where they've been, and look at them now. And like, I don't know, I don't really need that. Like, I already know what Katana has been through. I already know the struggles. I already know how much rage she has because she lost her father. I don't need to be reminded of that at the end of the movie. And so it's those little tropes. Like you could have refined that and just gone through with her maybe seeing images of her father, but no dialogue, just showing what she has fought to be here to try to face off and kill Shao Kahn. That's all the motivation you need. I don't need the dialogue. I don't need that to be explicitly told to me, the audience, or Katana. So that was the one thing that just did not work for me. And I hope that could just eventually be removed from a lot of movies. Like we don't need to be, as an audience, we don't need to be reminded. We can pick that up. We can pick up those kind of clues from what we've seen in the movie, for the last hour and a half as well. All right, last thing I want to call out for Mortal Kombat was this little detail that they did. There was a moment where they plotted Shao Kahn and his followers to try to kill Raiden. And what they do is that they end up slicing his throat. And it was actually Kung Lao with his saw hat that ends up cutting the throat of Raiden. And what was really cool is that because he is the god of thunder and lightning, when they cut his throat, instead of seeing blood, you just see light emit from his throat. And it almost looked like the light that you see from like a laser show, like white. And it was a really interesting take on how to do that type of ability. So cool. And just again, it was a very interesting way to kind of show off the ability that is within Raiden. So I thought that was a very clever take. All right, two more items before we wrap up the podcast. First item, should you check this movie out in theaters? My personal opinion, I'm going to say give this one a shot. Once again, it's not going to blow you away in regards to a story, an arc, but from an action perspective, from funny moments and jokes, I think this will deliver. If you enjoyed the first Mortal Kombat 2021, I didn't enjoy it, but if you enjoyed it, then definitely give this one a watch because it's definitely a lot better than that Mortal Kombat film that came out in 2021. So that'll be my recommendation. Give this one a shot. And if you watch it in IMAX, again, let me know what you thought about it. I thought in IMAX it looked really cool. You could see some of the aspect ratios change in certain battle scenes. So again, let me know what you ended up watching this film in, whether it was just regular, Dolby Cinema, IMAX, whatever it is, let me know down below in the comments. All right, last question we have to ask on this podcast. Is Mortal Kombat 2 a timeless movie? In my personal opinion, I think Mortal Kombat 2 is not a timeless movie. I enjoyed it. I liked the action. I liked the characters. Kano was an awesome surprise in this movie. Carl Urban did really good as Johnny Cage. Katana, played by Adeline Rudolph. They were all interesting characters. I cared about them. I wanted to see how their stories would end. But overall, just other than the action, other than seeing all the fun moments, nothing really blew me away from this specific experience. It was fun. It's not the best action movie that I've seen in years. It's enjoyable, but there's nothing other than maybe some of the action sequences that I would go back to. But other than the action, there's nothing that really pulls me back to want to watch this movie. You know what? I forgot to say one thing. You know what would have made this timeless is playing the Mortal Kombat song in an actual fight sequence. I told my brother this. He didn't agree with me. So let me know if you agree with me in the comments. They play the song, the classic Mortal Kombat song, the techno, I think it's called, I think it might be Techno Syndrome. That's at least what I saw in the Spotify playlist. But that song is a classic. Again, it's nostalgia, but I loved watching the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie and watching them fight to that song. It's just, as soon as you hear that song, it pumps you up. And I'm just disappointed that they played that at the end credit scene of the movie. That's all they played that song. Like instead of playing it in the actual movie, they waited until their credits were rolling and then they play that song. Come on, like that to me is, you gotta play that song. It just pumps you up. It gives you so much energy when you're watching these crazy fights, and it might even elevate the fights. But those are my thoughts. That's my opinion. More importantly, to anybody listening, what are your opinions and your thoughts about Mortal Kombat 2? Did you enjoy the experience? Did you like the fights? Let me know in the comments what were your favorite fights of the movie. Did you want to hear that classic Mortal Kombat song in the film? And more importantly, did you think Mortal Kombat 2 was timeless? All right, everybody. Appreciate all of you listening to my full thoughts about Mortal Kombat 2. Make sure to check out our next episode as we cover a new film that comes out in theaters or streaming, and we decide if it is timeless. All right, everybody. Appreciate you all listening. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to y'all later.